What is up, everybody? It's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video back in Planet Coaster in the Silver Dollar City recreation. So we're still over here in Outlaw Run, still a lot of work to get done, and today we're going to be working a little bit on trying to get this stagecoach here, and I tried building it myself. Doesn't work out very well. I just could not figure it out, so I look up on the Steam Workshop to see if there's actually is any stagecoaches, and you'll see, I think by the next episode, I actually already have it placed in there and stuff like that. It is from the stagecoach that I do end up using is going to be from the Steam Workshop, but I'm going to make some modifications to it to make it look more like the to make it look more like the Outlaw Run stagecoach, because it's not actually, you know, the Outlaw Run stagecoach, and it looks has a lot of differences. So I'm going to edit it a little bit myself to see what I can do to make it look, you know, a little bit more like the Silver Dollar City one. So credit goes to whoever who builds that one, which we'll get into that later because that is actually in the next episode. So you see me messing around with this for a little bit, but I end up actually kind of trashing this stagecoach. It looks good. It looked good at first, but then when I started getting in the shaping of the car itself, and I just couldn't figure out how I was going to do all the details on the side of the stagecoach, and it just ended up turning into quite a bit of a mess. So I wish you could kind of recolor the wheels on the stagecoaches, because they're actually yellow in real life, but I wanted to make sure I used these wheels, obviously, because that is kind of the wheels that they use in the stagecoach. I mean, you can't change the color. It has to stay that red, unfortunately, but because they are yellow on the Outlaw Run stagecoach. So but if you didn't know, Outlaw Run is themed to a Western Missouri stagecoach depot. So that is actually the theme, if you never noticed yet, obviously. So I run into a lot of complications through going into this, but nothing that, of course, that I can't handle. And I know it's going to be kind of a pain trying to figure out which pieces go where when we actually import it into the regular save file. And it's going to be kind of an interesting thing because we're going to have to do it in multiple different buildings and piece it together, kind of. And it's going to be a little bit awkward kind of putting those together, but I know we'll be able to do it no problem with what we have. So on the extended queue line, the outdoor queue line that is not covered, I do have an idea of how I'm going to do that, because it actually is... It's going to be, I'm going to make it more natural pathways, is how I believe I'm going to do it. Instead of having anything under it, you know, I'm going to add natural pathways and make it look as best as I can to make it look like kind of like a wood chipped area kind of and stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting. We'll see how it turns out, but I'll probably most likely be deleting most of that after I get all the railings and stuff in there itself. So we actually do get a little bit more on the coaster layout today in this episode. I don't know exactly how much I do. I think I just do about the first drop maybe, and maybe like I can't remember which episode's which of what I did where. So a lot of the layout by the next episode is actually a lot of it completed, at least about halfway, and there's a lot of stuff to do in the layout. I spend a lot of time on the layout just because I want to make sure it is as accurate as it can possibly be, and that's the main thing. So the stagecoach wasn't turning out too bad at first, and then I just kind of gave up on it. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, so I kind of held it off for a little bit, and then went and found some new different reference photos to work a little bit more on the queue line and stuff, and I get over here and work a little bit on the double extended queue line, which is going to be cool. It's actually like the same railings, except it's just a different color. They're just like this brown color, which works pretty well. So all in all these, I'm going to delete all these pathways in the end, and just after I get the layouts of where the pathway goes, it'll be easy to know where the pathway goes when I do place it down in the actual thing itself. So it'll be quite simple, and once we get around to that. So I don't think we'll have any issues with it. At least I hope we don't. Hopefully it'll be pretty easy once we import all this, and it will be quite easy. As you can notice, these episodes are starting to get a little bit longer. This episode in particular, I think I recorded for about an hour and a half total, so you're getting a 20-minute plus video today, which is actually really awesome, right? Because, you know, and then, yeah, this part over here is kind of a pain in the butt. In a way, is just this section on the slanted kind of the slanted pathway that goes down into the station. It was always just kind of a little bit of a pain to deal with. It's not exact. I'm trying to get it as best as I can to make it as perfect as possible, and I mess with it quite a bit, and it gets kind of annoying of how difficult this kind of ends up, because I'm constantly repathing it, trying to get it to work properly. Then I realize, what if I made, the slants first and then the path next, or after that, and different things like that. I think I do end up making the path first anyways, but that's beside the point, because it has like this, the fence up here, and then it goes down this little ramp and comes back the other way, and then you're down in the station area. That's kind of how it works. So I'm gonna make the sections that are, because in real life, these extended queue lines can be open and closed by like either a chain or other stuff like that. So when it's busier, they can open up those, and when it's not busy, they can just have the short queue open, which means all of that extended queue is actually closed. I'm going to make it look like that there's options there, because I'm going to try and make a chain that goes across, all the places, where you would actually be able to open and close the spots, because there's one where you can open just half of the tent area right there, and then there's also one opening up the very large extended queue in the wood chipped area as well. So I wish there was a better way to make these fences than what I'm doing right now, because I'd at least be able to change the color of that wood. If I could change that color of the ladder, because I use like the ladder piece. It's the best idea I could come up with, because it's actually like this metal kind of railing kind of stuff, and it's not brown, so that's kind of an issue that I ran into. I don't know what else to use to make it look properly the way it's supposed to, so that's kind of an issue that I kind of ran into. But for right now, we're using that, and we'll see how all that turns out. For right now, it doesn't look half bad. I mean, it looks pretty close, but yeah. So anyways, making these slanted, areas is kind of hard. So this roof works pretty well for these. And I'm thinking about adding, other wooden planks and stuff to make a different texture, because it's not really that kind of texture. It's a very different kind of texture. It's kind of like a dark, the flooring in this ride is more like a very dark wooden plank kind of texture. But they're not really wood. It's actually concrete, but it looks like wood, and that's kind of like the idea of how it's supposed to look. It's kind of very unique, and actually looks really cool. So we're going to try, not in this episode, but try and get into that. And then another challenge is lining up the Trailblazer entrance with the extended queue as well, which I actually end up figuring out how that's going to work at the same time. And just everything else is going to be really cool. I'm going to simulate the train tracks as well, going under the Outlaw runs lift hill and through the at the end of the ride of the barrel, because the train actually goes through Outlaw run like pretty perfectly. It actually has a tunnel over by there as well, which I might actually make at the same time. The only downfall to doing it this way is when we get into the actual save, I'm gonna have to redo all the terrain and work that in. So I'm gonna work with the terrain here, but the terrain's not gonna matter too much until, obviously we get into the actual save. That's going to be the actual terrain. I'm going to do my best to map out the terrain to make it look the same. It's going to be very difficult, going to be a challenge. The terrain's always a difficult part when working with this recreation in Silver Dollar City, because, when you look at Outlaw Run, it has a 107-foot lift with a 162-foot drop, and that just tells it right there how crazy. That just sums up how crazy the terrain is on the ride itself. It's pretty insane. Now over here, what I'm trying to do at this point is I'm looking at reference photos and stuff. So if you see those long pauses, that's actually what those are, is me trying to look for reference photos and reference videos and anything I can find, because I know this place very well, but there's there's little details that I have to look up, obviously, and stuff like that. So it's kind of difficult in a way, but at least I know the area pretty well of what it is supposed to look like, pretty much. So I'm kind of creating the skeleton-ish kind of feel above the actual station itself, is kind of what we're going for right here. And this is and then I kind of noticed that this is kind of I think I end up lowering this down just a little bit, because I was like, that's a little bit too tall. And it's very important to me to get this as, close as possibly, as close as I possibly can to make this as realistic as possible, to make it believable that this is Outlaw Run. That's gonna be the goal. And I might go along and change some different things, maybe like, especially like the color of the walls and stuff might need to be altered a little bit. It's kind of a different kind of green. It's very weird. The coloring of the walls is actually very interesting, because it's not really like this green like I'm portraying it to be, kind of right there. I mean, it's got that green tint to it, but it's like a very, very washed green. Like, it's nearly gray almost. And I'm gonna have to adjust that hopefully sooner than rather than later, and that's going to be interesting. So what I want to do over here is actually work a little bit more on the operator's booth a little bit. The operator's booth at Outlaw Run is actually raised up quite a bit, so it's going to look kind of weird. I was almost thinking about like covering that guy up and actually putting like one of the cowboy animatronics in as the operator and see how that works. But of course, all the cowboy operator animatronics actually have like guns and stuff, so that'd be kind of weird, but it'd still work. It would still work. Anyways, but yeah, so it's a challenge getting that operator's booth a little bit, and I mess around with it quite a bit until I try and figure out what I'm going to do with it, because it's not quite as long as, the wall piece. So that was one interesting thing that I ran into, and so I just used the wall piece kind of as a guide for my little wooden planks here, and even these kind of look kind of off. I don't know if they really capture what it looks like. I think I might change this in the future as well, and so I'm constantly making different changes to different spots to try and make them look a little bit more realistic and more real to what they actually look like in real life. So that's going to be kind of the challenge there. Now so it is kind of a challenge of how it all works out, the operator's booth, and it's kind of got this shape to it that you have to get right. It has stairs leading up to the operator stand and stuff like that. This is all stuff that you're probably not going to see that much anyways, but it's important to me in a way, because pretty awesome. So after we do end up finishing Outlaw Run over here, I don't know how long episodes is going to take, but I have an interesting question for you guys. This is obviously going to be a long project for the Silver Dollar City recreation, and I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. How many episodes do you think this is going to take? That's my question to you guys. How many episodes do you guys think this is going to take? Sapphire Just 95, I asked her, and she said she thinks it's going to be around 105 or something like that, or 105, 110. Me personally, I think I'm going to easily get into the 200s, no problem. I think this series is going to get into the 200s in this recreation series, and it's going to last a long time. And you're looking at this, and what are we on, episode 6 right now? And so we haven't gotten much done. So I mean, I think it'll easily get into the 200 range, especially all the stuff we have to do, make all the rides. And I think I'm gonna do all the other rides kind of like in this situation as well, where we build everything and then we just import it into the game, or import it into the save. I think that's gonna be a nice strategy on how we're gonna do this, pretty much. I think that's going to work quite well, and every time I'm looking at this, I'm like, I got new ideas of how I'm actually going to build this. I'm like, well, maybe like shapes would actually work better than what I'm using right now. But yeah, different things like that is going to be pretty cool and pretty fun. And I try to actually figure out maybe if I can put any clocks in the clocks area, and I couldn't find any, and still kind of unknown how I'm going to do that. And then I was like, well, I need to go over here and finish the extended queue on the railings. These are actually looking pretty nice. I think these look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, like, it looks pretty close to the real thing, and that's what I'm mostly excited for, is that when you get it all done and you're looking at it, it's like, wow, that looks pretty darn good, and that's what I'm hopefully that reaction that I'm gonna have after it's all said and done and I'm finished building with all this. And that's gonna be the biggest reward, seeing that you recreated a ride and it looks pretty stinking close. That's gonna be huge. And I hope you guys agree with me that I don't know how many of you have actually been to Silver Dollar City and actually experienced this ride for yourself, but you can let me know in the comments of how close you think this is actually looking to be like Outlaw Run itself. Now, again, keep in mind that the queue line, I'm gonna have all those railings and the actual railings removed in the end. Those are just pretty much there as a guide to show me where where the queue line is. Of course, that's pretty much what those are there for, and I will be removing those later on to kind of simulate how it's going to look like and stuff like that. So this save right here that I'm making, I'm also debating whether to put Wilson's Farm in there with the giant swing and stuff and the high-low silos. I think I'm going to have those in there too, so I can literally just throw my pieces into the park and they're all right there, and I got my rides and the sections that I need, and it will all work out pretty well. So now we're getting a little bit into the layout of Outlaw Run here, and I think all I really do here is actually perfect what I can on the first drop. I changed a lot of different things. I made, the height originally 107 feet, but the 162-foot drop seemed a little bit off to me. Everything seemed kind of out of proportions, and the proportion didn't seem very right to me. So I changed the lift, and the lift hill itself is 107 feet. So you have to kind of minus, or add on the feet that it starts at the base of the lift hill. In this case, the base of the lift hill is actually already sitting at 10 feet. So the lift hill is another 107 feet from that, so I actually end up making the lift hill about 117 feet, and it actually felt a lot better, and it actually looked a lot better, and I think that actually turned out very well for me. And then this is always the toughest part, is to get the height of the drop correct, because you don't actually get to see the height of the drop pretty much. I actually have to test it over and over and over after, doing, I had to do the auto complete and everything, just to get it over there to kind of see what the statistics are, to see if the biggest drop is 162 feet. And then after multiple failed attempts, I finally got it to 162 feet. Outlaw Run is 68 miles an hour when you hit the bottom of that lift, or hit the bottom of the hill. But we were going about 70 miles an hour, and little inaccuracies like that, I don't mind it being 2 miles an hour faster than what it actually is supposed to go, because the ride itself on hotter days, it will actually exceed that 68 miles an hour in real life anyways. And with the friction of playing a coaster, the trains slow down pretty easily, pretty fast, and I feel like hopefully they give an option to where the friction isn't as bad on the rides, because I want to make sure it goes fast through the whole thing. So I'm going to kind of cheat with that a little bit, and I think I'm going to say that the 70 mile an hour is okay with the first drop. And the first drop was actually looking pretty good here, and the little pre-drop and stuff, the little hill actually got to look pretty good. I messed with it quite a bit, and I think I finally got it to a point where I was pretty happy with it. And as you can see, I just go, and I think this is where I changed the lift height. Or no, I changed a lot of different things. I can't even remember where it is, but I think I messed with this. Excuse me, I messed with it so much, but when all said and done, it finally turned into something that actually looked pretty good, and I was pretty proud of it. And I hope it turns out good, and I hope Planet Coaster adds, the RMC trains. It will also help with physics, I think, a little bit, because you'll have the 6 cars, rows of 2 per car and stuff like that. I think that factors in a lot when it comes to, speed and everything like that. That actually does matter a little bit of how many cars are on the train. And, because I think I only have like 10 cars on this train, but it's only a row per car. So it's kind of a completely different train on the wooden topper track. And, it's kind of a little bit inaccurate in some sense. You need that, we need the custom RMC trains on here rather than those trains. I know some RMCs actually have those trains. As for those trains, I don't think those trains are actually on any wooden RMCs. They're all custom actually they're RMC custom trains that they've used on all their wooden coasters. So I don't know why Planet Coaster put those kinds of trains on the RMC topper track. You know, I don't really know why. I think it's kind of, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably wrong, but I believe those trains are actually like the gravity group trains, and I don't see why they're on an RMC topper track, in my opinion. I don't see why those are on there. You know, those are actually on some of the steel coasters, I think, but not the RMC wooden coasters, because RMC only does usually they haven't made any wooden conversions, and the RMC wooden topper tracks are all ground up coasters, so those are kind of weird. And I really hope in April, because a lot of people have been asking for different trains on different coasters, on different rides, and more customizable to the trains. I really hope that they listen to the fans in this update. You know, I think they will do it eventually if it's not in this update, but in the April update, I really hope they do that, because I would really love to have the RMC train on this coaster. You know, and we saw in very early builds of, like, you know, I think I saw an RMC train on like a aerodynamic track, and I was like, well, that looks weird. They actually did have that, and I don't know why why that was, but you know, that made me think, all right, we'll be able to use any train we want on any of the tracks and stuff like that. That'd be kind of interesting and cool, but that is not the case. We can't change the cars on the trains, and hopefully, I really hope we get the RMC trains to be able to put on the RMC tracks, or RMC coaster track, or wooden topper tracks, because that is something that Outlaw Run has, and I think it factors in a little bit when it comes to physics and stuff, you know, as well. So it's kind of an important thing. So this is me just trying to get this dip down, and because I wanted, it just didn't look right, and I had to get it right. I was like, it's steeper than that, it turns more than that, and it's always a very difficult thing to get right. You know, you want to make sure you get everything right in your recreations, and for me, you know, it's a huge deal to try and get this as accurate as possible, and it turned out pretty good, I think, after messing with it quite a bit. I think I finally got the pre-drop that I've always wanted to build for Outlaw Run, and my voice is starting to give out, but that's okay because we're at the end of the video anyways. So let me guys know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you have a great day and even cooler tomorrow, and I'll catch you guys next time. Comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you guys, and goodbye.